Me and Cantan Lost Podcast, Audio Lost Nonsense. It's a PoliticsJOE podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Say it again.
Me and Cantan Lost Podcast, Audio Lost Nonsense.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah? Are you infuriated? Are you absolutely fucking seething?
I didn't know. I forgot how annoying you would be.
Imagine, you know when, like in the political playbook, they have like the England scores at the beginning of the email, as if someone is finding out football scores from
They probably are, to be
playbook.
honest. Because it's meant to be like a briefing, isn't it? So there's probably a lot of people who go, yes, I will need that. Did you see that ludicrous display last night?
How are you feeling in a victoryless England?
It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. I don't care.
You're so annoying. And not as annoying as Sean. He's being particularly annoying.
Sean, I thought he's been absolutely fine.
You know who's been really funny? Stephen Flynn.
Stephen Flynn is just golden. He's tweeting like a little boy.
It's very good.
It is very funny. My flatmate last night said, who's also Scottish, said he thought to himself, I think I'll support Spain because I lived in Madrid for 6 months, like love Spanish culture, whatever. And then he realised he's lived in England for 4 years. Closest cultural cousin to Scotland is England. It just does not apply that thinking at all to living in England.
Yeah, I just think I've been surrounding myself with too many Scottish people recently because you've actually brought down the whole tournament for me. Like in my personal life, I'm surrounded by Scottish people as well. And like part of the group yesterday was the Scottish man who was just like, you know, getting the tube back. And I was like, oh, it's just so crap. And he's like, oh, well, like, whatever. And he's like smiling. But, you know, you can't say anything about Andy Murray, can you?
You don't like Andy Murray?
Well, no, I feel indifferent. But like I mentioned something a couple of weeks back where I was actually like, oh God, he's always going on, isn't he? Andy Murray. And that caused a bit of a fight at home.
everyone lost it. Yes, I surprised myself at how thrilled I was.
I'm totally unsurprised.
Mm-hmm.
You were tweeting all day that you were looking forward to them losing.
Yeah, it's true actually. You wrote a list of insults for me.
No, but I was really drunk when I wrote them, so they're really bad.
So you drafted in case England won things you were going to say.
No. This was like when I got home.
Oh.
And I was sitting there like, that'll get them.
And they're utterly incoherent.
Yeah. But you two little cucks who sit at the table, you like sit there and you're all like, oh, isn't it so wonderful that England lost? You both live here.
Yeah.
So who's the embarrassment? You two.
Did you see Lily Allen's tweet?
Why is she... Don't, because you're going to start me off on it.
If anyone hasn't seen or listeners hasn't seen, it's like an AI generated image of like bald pink men dressed in Union Jacks crying.
Yeah. So I guess it doesn't really make sense to me that she would make that joke last night. Like you are English. And yeah, they just lost, so they're allowed to be a bit sad.
Yeah.
You know, let the men feel how they feel. You know. It's sort of like that podcast that she's doing at the moment with the BBC.
I've not listened to any of it.
I feel like one of, you know, that AI generated image?
Yes.
That's of those large, bald, red men in Union Jacks crying. That's how I felt when I discovered that the BBC had commissioned her to do a podcast.
She's quite paint by numbers.
It's her, she just chats about like nonsense. And it's like, why on earth is the BBC commissioning this? You've just shut down half of the local radio outlets in the country because of lack of funding. And then in central BBC, you're funding celebrities to do podcasts. It doesn't make sense to me. The BBC should be homegrown talent. It should be like, basically, if you put something onto the BBC platform, it's going to do well, right? It's going to have quite large success because of the nature of how prolific the platform is or whatever, yeah? Why aren't you giving it to someone who, like, perhaps, I don't know, fund them to go and do a bit of original journalism, fund that as a series, or fund them to go and do, like, I don't know, like a cultural exploration, like fund someone like, I like that little Scott guy, what's his name, who does the TV reviews?
Oh,
Brian,
I know exactly
is
what
his
you mean.
name?
Yeah, I think so.
Fund someone like that to go and do like, because that's what the BBC should be doing. Commercial arms like Global or ITV, they're the ones who hire the celebrities because they need the footfall, you know?
And that's what seemingly the rest is history. When they were trying to get that commissioned, the BBC said, you're not celebrities, so we're not interested.
But it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
The BBC shouldn't be going after celebrities. It should be going after...
And it's just an absolutely absurdly massive podcast.
Yeah. It's sort of like, you know how Newscast is extremely successful?
Yeah.
And it's because Adam Fleming and Chris Mason, they are two, and I mean this not derogatory, I mean this in a complimentary way, they're two massive dorks and they're really good at the job.
Yeah.
And it's a nice listen. But they're not, Chris Mason probably is now, but they're not like name... They don't have names. No, they're not.
Yeah.
But they make a really good podcast, and by nature of it being on the platform, people listen to it. That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good commission. Sorry.
We should be in charge at the BBC. Trump was shot.
Yeah, and how was that trip back for you?
Wasn't that was nuts?
Did you see the tweets about like, we've had our first anxious assassinator? It's like the most Gen Z thing to ever happen.
Yeah. That was, I think...
But we don't know why.
No, there's no clear motivation.
Presumably because they shot him, so we can't ask him.
Yeah. They might have been...
He's got no
quick to
digital
engage.
footprint either, which is odd.
Oh, and the only motivation towards his physical background is he's a registered Republican, and when he was 17, he donated $15 to a progressive cause. So we're none the wiser as to why he tried to kill Donald Trump.
No. Do you think that it was fun? I don't know. Like, do you think it was out of like...
Oh, as in he did it because... Yeah, I don't know. If only we could ask him.
Who's doing Morse code in here?
Yeah, someone's knocking against the thing. Do you know who's going out to make Donald Trump feel better?
Who?
Nigel Farage.
Oh, good.
Which...
Straight out of collective. Does that mean he's missing the King's speech?
I actually think he's leaving after the King's speech.
Right.
To be kind of fair to him.
So what about his constituency meeting on Friday? Where will he be?
Well, there was actually MRP polling, and the biggest concern for people in Clacton was Donald Trump's re-election. So he's representing the view of his constituents.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought you meant like they were worried that they'd lose him to Trump.
No. He wrote in the Telegraph, "I'm flying to America to support Trump. The words deployed by the left are, I believe, encouraging people. Rocks were thrown at me during the election campaign, and last night, Donald Trump was shot." Not the same thing.
Proportionate.
Absolutely not the same thing. And also, this is fucking laced with irony. Actually, it wasn't laced with irony, but I actually couldn't believe he was saying this. "The Be Kind Brigade must now realise that their language has an impact. It has become commonplace among the media elite to view Trump as an authoritarian fascist. It is now so normal to hear that those of us on the right who care about our countries are somehow authoritarian dictators. I implore all of those on the left to think very carefully about how they seek to play politics." So Nigel Farage is just learning that maybe your language has an impact on people's politics.
Well, on that, you were the gateway to Trump being shot, if you remember. That you were on this podcast not so long ago.
Me?
Yeah, you said it was all right that a milkshake was sold at Nigel Farage. The milkshake turned into a rock, turned into Donald Trump getting shot.
I would dispute that. I don't think that was what's happened.
All right. But did those three things not happen?
No, you are absolutely right. No, I think...
Do you think we should have done an emergency podcast on Sunday morning?
Done the thing that British journalists do, got undergrad degrees in politics, and here's why. This is how it's going to play in Missouri.
Do you know, I resent that line of criticism.
Do you?
Yeah, because I think that politics should be accessible, and I think that if there are journalists that you follow and they can offer a perspective on the US election, I don't think it's a problem that they're tweeting and talking about it. There's like a snobbery about American politics where like Twitter jumps on and goes, oh, what do you know? And it's like, listen, pal, they don't know anything about Westminster either. Like,
but I think if you saw like, I don't know, someone in the base in Washington tweeting about Clacton, you would be like, you'd be like, that person probably isn't the best place.
Well, it's probably for their audience though, isn't it? And it would be more dialed down. It's sort of, we were talking about the French elections not so long ago, weren't we? What authority do we have to speak on that?
That's true. I suppose that is fair, but it does make me laugh a little bit. But it's just when people tweet the most banal stuff.
Well, the funny thing is when they do like breaking.
Yes.
This is like Donald Trump been shot. It's like, yeah, okay, we're all on the wise. We can see that.
We also
like,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exclusive. I've just watched CNN and I'm letting you know what happened on it. Okay.
I've got CNN on all the time. Mm-hmm. Keir Starmer spoke to Donald Trump.
Well, yeah.
I can't imagine those two men in the same room. But I know they weren't.
Well, no, they probably did it by phone. I would have thought. Starmer took a private jet to watch the football in Berlin.
Did he? Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that? Do you mind?
Well, I don't think he had to be there. So I don't really see why he had to use the private jet. It wasn't like a NATO summit, was it? Or was it?
It was a secret NATO summit, actually.
Do you think it was
Germany.
soft power?
Yes, I don't know. I think the prime minister, leader of a country, supporting that country is, I wouldn't say it's not important.
But William went.
Yeah, but it's different, isn't it?
Why didn't they share a plane?
Maybe they did.
Because I think the argument there would be, well, you can't put all of the important people on one plane. And I'd say, yes, you can.
Watch me.
It's like popes in a Volkswagen, isn't it?
That's why you're not in charge of logistics for the prime minister or the royal family.
But if Keir Starmer didn't pack his entire dad's array of tool making equipment, then they'd be able to fit on the plane, wouldn't they? The same plane.
Is that what you think happened?
Yeah. Well, when Starmer, when he goes away, packs all those molds. It's in case anyone wants a quick demonstration.
Of what? Oh, do you think he tells people that when he's at these summits now?
What?
That my father was a toolmaker. You're looking at him. Yeah. So,
there's some pretty good policies coming out of Labour. It'd be interesting to see what's in the King's speech on Wednesday.
What are you looking forward to?
I'll be interested to see if they are going to lift the child benefit cap to child benefit cap. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because there's some momentum gaining.
There is some momentum. The SNP have said that they'll force a vote on it. Kim Johnson, I believe, who's a Labour MP in Liverpool. She also has laid an amendment, or will table an amendment, if it's not in there. She wants it. She wants to lift 250,000 children out of poverty. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right, Kim.
You do good. I suppose the Labour argument is, or the Starmer argument is, they won't because they can't afford to at this time.
Yes, but what's interesting about some of the policy that's gone down, that on its own looks terrible. When you actually look at some of the policy that they want to, will probably come out in the King's speech tomorrow, there's a number of poverty tackling measures. For example, the truancy list. They want to keep a note of how many children are missing school, which there is already sort of a register, but they want a more in-depth register. And it's about children who can't afford to eat properly or can't afford, say, like that they're in period poverty and so therefore are missing schools. They want like a more detailed register on that. And the schools the onus will be on them to provide proper breakfast for them at breakfast clubs. And the school will have to basically tick off to say, yes, every child is fed and ready to go to school today. So it's more of like a social worker approach to which they kind of already are doing, but this is more intense to make sure that children, that's a really good way of monitoring child poverty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I suppose it seems to be we're starting with the small stuff and maybe we'll get round.
I know, I think that's quite big. That children have to have breakfast before they go to school.
Yes, but I think when people, the emotiveness of the 2-child cap, which there's, what was it, like 250,000 children in poverty at the moment, thanks to this.
They can be lifted out of poverty.
That can be lifted. And like, that's such an emotive thing is there a moral argument for keeping them there? Is there a moral argument to maintain the 2-child cap? If the argument is just we can't afford it, then there is an argument that the government should be readjusting its priorities. Like what?
But it might.
It might. Yeah, of course, it might do. It might do. It doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
So far, even Miriam Cates is on board.
But Miriam Cates is on board for a different. Her reasoning is different to. I would argue that me or you would say things like, "I don't think that children should be hungry or in poverty." Miriam Cates, I don't know, she might say something on the lines of, this would encourage more people to have babies. And because she's got that sort of evangelical imported way of thinking from America, she's very much like, let's have babies. I want English babies. No, but it is. That's where it's coming from. And so she's trying to encourage that rather than actually caring. Well, I don't know. I'm positing maybe than actually caring about lifting children out of poverty.
I think so. There's evidence that it's not a deterrent for people to have children. It's just they have the same number of children and can't afford it.
Well, it might be a deterrent to having a third child, because if you're not going to receive the child benefit, you might be like, we can't afford to have it. But then I guess it's daycare, isn't it? So also if Labour do go ahead with their nursery programme, if that gets implemented properly, the Tories introduced it, but the funding never actually reached a lot of the nurseries. If Labour if they iron that out, and if you are going to have a third child, that child will definitely get to go to nursery for free. That's a really good incentive. That also is one of the ways you can lift a child out of poverty.
It is Starmer's week of goodwill seems to be over.
Why?
I would say because England lost. I think if England had won last night, then Starmer would have had 6-month honeymoon period. But now everyone's like, oh, life is shit again.
Well, don't worry, we've always got the chance for Arsenal to win the league.
That would only justify.
And then perhaps that'll be good. There'll be more goodwill.
Only for Arsenal fans.
Well, he's an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, no, but as in like the rest of the country wouldn't be like, thank you, great job, Prime Minister.
He might do a bank holiday. Imagine how mental that would be.
Imagine a bank holiday for Arsenal winning the Premier League, but no bank holiday for the Lionesses winning Euros.
Yeah, but the Arsenal men's team would win the league.
Which is more important.
Well, then, yeah.
Yeah, that is true.
They actually announced quite a big... They announced... The culture department announced a big package of funding.
Oh, really?
For women's football. Yeah. That was the announcement this morning. Or overnight. Or it might still be embargoed. Anyway, we'll see.
Well, we can check that. That might have been edited out.
Nah, we'll leave it in.
Are you excited for Parliament to be back? Have you missed it?
I was disappointed today when I came in and I realised that it wasn't on. Sad.
Are you excited to learn all the new MPs?
I have actually been trying. There's a really good game you can play.
Oh? What's the game?
It like flashes up a picture and you have to name it. Name the MP.
Oh, so it's studying?
Yeah.
You're doing flashcards?
I am,
That's not a game. That's like kinetic learning or something.
Well, you sit there doing like the New York Times Connect Words or whatever.
Yeah, that's a game.
It's not really a game, is it?
It is a game.
I don't know anyone who plays that game who's calm.
Are you saying that my erratic mood is down to me playing Connections?
If you've had a bad Connections, you're quite unpleasant for the half an hour afterwards.
I've never noticed that.
Yeah, you're quite unbearable to be next to. And you sit there muttering to yourself as well.
Lie. That's a lie.
No, you actually do.
Oh no, I do talk to myself.
Can you back me up?
I do talk to myself.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, that is true.
You sit there going, oh, that's obviously not Connection, is it? Who came up with this? It's just like ridiculous, isn't it? How am I meant to know that?
I quite often, if I make a tiny mistake, I quite regularly say to myself, "You're a fucking idiot."
I know. Yeah.
like literally, like I've slightly misclicked something in an edit. Like I cut off the end of a word. I'm like, "You're a complete moron."
And I know when you're really annoyed because you go like this with your headphones.
Just an insight into. Do you think they'd like to be a fly on the wall at the desk?
I didn't even like being a fly on the wall at that desk.
No, you were spouting off today.
Was I?
Just big opinions. Just big swings. I actually don't think we can repeat them.
We're back in now. We took something out. I don't think it should have been taken out. Ed's a massive coward.
I'm looking out for Ava's best interest, I would say there.
Yeah?
I think so. I'm trying to stop you getting cancelled.
They're not going to cancel me for that.
I think they would.
I might tweet it off my own.
Okay, let's see how that goes. Once you listen to this, check Ava's Twitter and see a pylon that I would be leading. I completely disavow myself.
You disembowel.
I would disembowel myself.
Disembowel yourself.
Yeah, I'd commit seppuku.
Who do you? I was going to say something mental.
Let's go for it.
Do you think your bowels would stretch around the office?
How big is a bowel?
They're quite long, aren't they?
Is a bowel like a bowel's a discrete organ, isn't it? It's not like your intestines.
I'm not sure. Did you say a discrete organ?
Yeah.
Your bowel is a part of your intestine.
Discrete?
What
do you mean?
One,
I've never heard of like an organ being described as discrete.
One like singular hole. It's like what? It's not like it's part of something.
I don't know. I think if you were going to disembowel yourself, then you'd probably unfurl your intestines.
I don't think you'd have the capacity. To be perfectly honest, I don't think you'd be like uncoiling a hose, like pulling it out of you. I don't think you'd have the. I imagine you die quite quickly.
I was in a crime scene on Saturday night.
Someone ritually disemboweled themselves.
No, but it was
the crime
mad.
scene? Was it bad?
It was just bizarre because we were enjoying a couple of drinks in a pub beer garden, and then suddenly the pub beer garden was a crime scene.
Oh,
Nothing happened.
that's interesting.
They had like blue gloves on, and they found the what they were looking for.
But which was
Well, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I don't know where it's going.
okay. We might prejudice the trial.
I don't know if anyone's been charged.
No, true. That is
And I've
very
given
true.
no information about it, so it's fine.
On the walk to work today, I walked past an afters going on.
No, you didn't.
There was like
No, you didn't.
like on the way from the tube to here, I was like looking up and I was like, why is that man sitting on the windowsill without the top on? And then I looked and there was like 5 people all drinking and there was like music playing.
That to me
On a Monday morning.
sounds so bad. Can you imagine waking up on a Monday morning after England lose? Not even waking up, it's 9 a.m.
You've gone through.
And you're still at the afters.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
That's actually made me feel really weird inside.
It felt like, they were all crowded really close together.
Yeah?
Like it wasn't like I could see them all, and they were maybe 2 stories up, so there's no one far back in the room. They're all like huddled like this. I think they all had their tops off. Maybe it was an orgy, not an after, to be fair. But even still, a Monday morning orgy.
There's a video going around of all these like 40 to 50-year-old men who've got their tops off in like inside someone's kitchen, watching the game on a live stream.
That's class.
Why did they take their tops off?
It's hot.
Actually, when England scored yesterday, the man behind me just like took his top off, and I was like, okay. I only noticed that because it's actually so. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh. Someone's nipples on my hand. Oh.
You groped a man.
Well, he was like leaning right over like that, shirtless. Amazing how quick they can get their tops off. How quick can you get your top off, do you reckon? If you needed to.
The Sabrina Carpenter line of questioning.
Is it?
There's a line in her songs like pop quiz. How long can it take you to take your clothes off? Or something like that.
How
Nonsense
quickly can
to
you
nonsense.
take your clothes off pop quiz?
Yeah. The Sabrina Carpenter line of question.
All right, so answer the question.
Immediately.
Immediately.
Like astonishingly quick.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, he's not got any clothes on.
Watch this.
He's got nothing on. For audio listeners, surprising, he's got a huge Tottenham tattoo.
Yep. I lost a
Is it
bet.
infected?
Yeah, I got a sunburn yesterday and it's going to scar.
Oh no.
It's going to permanently scar. A quarter of Conservative members would like Kemi Badenoch to be the leader of the Conservative Party.
Do you know what do you know what I really enjoyed last week? Was that Mark Francois stormed out of a meeting at the 1922 committee, and no one cared
Yeah, that was
because
sick.
we didn't have to.
Yeah. I enjoyed the Mark Francois coverage more now because people are treating it with the disdain that it deserves. And I've always thought it should be treated with disdain.
Well, it mattered back then, didn't it? Because it was actually...
The Five Family stuff, I would argue, maybe didn't.
No, but you had the potential then to topple a government. So even though... I mean, look, it was like an infinity loop, wasn't it? Because like you're paying attention because you've got the potential here to dismantle administration, but then the infinity loop keeps going because if you didn't pay him any attention, he probably wouldn't be able to kick up such a fuss in order to dismantle the administration, and it's going like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you remember when there was a wall of like Marc Francois was all like legs akimbo, standing there with his statement for the press, and all of the press were like fawning at him like, "Oh, Mark, what do you have to tell us?" And he was like, "I have commenced a meeting of the 5 families."
I mean, that's not a great Marc Francois impression, to be honest.
You do it then.
No, okay,
I'll do a proper one.
I understand my limitations.
Bonjour. C'est moi. This is the 5 families.
Bienvenue.
Baguette.
Kemi, leader.
Well, I mean, it would make sense, wouldn't it? The other one who's vying, is Suella Braverman vying?
Still vying. I think she's too toxic.
I can't imagine. Do you remember the selection process for selecting leader? It's a really odd, it's an annoying drawn out process, isn't it? So it starts by, the first round is like MPs get behind their chosen candidate, and then that whittles down to like the next section, and then those MPs, then whoever's been knocked out, they select a different MP that they're going to back, and it goes on and on and on, right?
Yep.
I think that one of those two would get knocked out in either the first or second round, because there's not a lot of crossover between a Kemi fan and a Suella. Sorry, there's a lot of crossover between a Kemi and Suella fan.
I think if you like either of them, you go with Kemi because I think she's more palatable. She's not going to do anything mental like claim the pride flag was like colonizing government buildings and stuff like that.
Well, also when you're selecting a leader of a party, you don't actually want to select someone who has a proven track record of going against the grain.
Yes.
You know, like it's good to have like a backbencher. When, for example, when Braverman was Home Secretary and she went and wrote that op-ed for the Times, and you might be like, why does that matter? It's like, well, it does sort of matter because she had a line in to the Prime Minister.
Yep.
The Prime Minister obviously said to her, we can't do what you want to do, which is a cap on net migration. And she just went, right, that's it. I'm going public with this immediately. And gave that ridiculous line about the homelessness as well.
Oh, God, yeah. She does have a really bad track record.
Yeah.
Which I think to like sensible Conservative members, which I'm not sure the most sensible Conservative member is who, but like you have to like there are LGBT people in the Tories. They're members who like who object to that.
It is the LGBT party.
Is it?
Yeah.
By what metric?
Mine.
You think it's the LGBT party?
I would say that it has the most gays out of the political parties, yes.
I would guess against anecdotally. I heard that's on
It's a very welcoming. It is actually. It's very welcoming to gay men.
Yeah, there's a big section. It's just some of their members and politicians say quite dreadful things about the community. They also
did legalise gay marriage
with the backing of other parties.
Well, you wouldn't want to vote against that. You're not Tim Farron from the Lib Dems, are you?
No, but some of their Conservative MPs.
Tim Farron of the Lib Dems will never cease to amaze me that he still gets elected.
Ed Davies in front of the Post Office inquiry this week.
Is he?
Maybe it's the end of his
about gay
marriage.
Period.
And the Post Office inquiry?
Yeah.
I don't think it will come up.
What's he doing? Objecting?
Davey?
Yeah.
Because of his
gay marriage at the Post Office inquiry?
Yes, he's taking a stand about it.
Really?
Yep. He's
odd for him.
Do we need to give him a right of reply to dispute? Ed Davey disputes what we've just said. He'll be answering questions about his role in the coalition.
Right.
Which, that might be the end of cuddly Ed Davey.
Well, he did go and... Well, it'd be interesting to see it, but he did meet with...
Alan, he's the first minister to meet with Alan Bates.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
But then it just reminded everyone that he was in coalition with the Conservatives.
I'm so mixed on your role as a minister in that sort of. So when Alan Bates first reached out to him, I could understand. I could understand how the concerns were missed at the start. If you were being briefed by your civil servants and advisors that this was a non-issue, and you receive thousands of letters like that, everyone's got an issue, you could understand why it got dismissed. Having actually met with him later on, I think that you can perhaps be forgiven. He's not the main arbiter of pain here, right? The prowess of pain is like the post office chief. She knew, well, the inquiry showed that she knew things that she didn't act upon, right? That's where your anger should be. And possibly on Fujitsu. And possibly on the procurement process, which means that Fujitsu is still being commissioned for like millions of pounds worth of contracts. I mean, just the other day they were commissioned.
Someone else that you'll enjoy in front, Jo Swinson will be there.
At the post office inquiry?
Yeah.
If she's wearing yellow, I swear.
Imagine how protest would be to make it a party political thing.
If you're listening to the inquiry and in the background you can hear a wailing and Jo Swinson's wearing yellow, know that that's me.
Know that it was inside your computer.
Do you think Nicola Sturgeon will show up?
To the post office inquiry?
Just to watch her on the stand?
To laugh at. Well, I'm not sure she's got much to laugh about.
She's just sitting there the whole time like...
She just haunts Jo Swinson.
Yeah.
Just bullies her for like...
That's what she did, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, she celebrated. I don't think Nicola Sturgeon has been haunting Jo Swinson.
No?
No. I would say that's probably quite unlikely.
Well, maybe they fancy a trip down to London or something.
Who?
The Sturgeons.
I think they're busy.
Maybe they'll, I don't know, they could make a little, it's nice weather next week, or the end of the week. Maybe they can make a little camping trip out of it.
For God's sake. Yeah, perhaps. It's hardly any of them SNP MPs anymore.
Yeah.
That's what's interesting, isn't it? Because Stephen Flynn saying he's going to pressure the Labour government into doing something now is really like, oh, you and your 6 pals. Versus like...
Well, you could argue that about the Greens or Reform.
Yes, you could. And I think you'd be right to.
I don't know. I think Farage has got quite strong lobbying power.
Yeah, but then there's a 180 people wall up to that lobbying.
Do you know what it depends on? It depends on how much credence we're going to keep giving, like, public discourse. And when I say public discourse, I mean Twitter. Like, the
marketplace of ideas.
Well, something kicks off in Parliament and it'll maybe get like 21 likes and it'll be on like the front page of a newspaper. Do you know who hates... No? I think the Telegraph's line on Labour at the moment is really interesting.
What is it?
It's basically just like...
No, you mustn't!
Yeah.
You're going to ruin Britain!
Yeah, there was like... Ed Miliband obviously is moving forward with Great British Energy. And he's been saying things like, we're going to build wind turbines. Well, do you want to know what the piece was? The Sunday Telegraph.
What?
It was Ed Miliband comes after British farming because he's going to put up these wind turbines. It's like, no one said he was going to put it up in the abattoir.
No,
like,
because the Conservative government has been so good to British farming.
Well, exactly. There was, of course, those huge tractor protests, weren't they?
Yeah.
And what they were riding through town saying was Ed Miliband wants to kill off British farming.
We're not protesting against the government. We're protesting against what we think the Labour programme of policy is going to be to farming.
Do you want to hear something fun?
Yes.
The Conservative candidate for Milton Keynes, who did not win, Chris Curtis won, didn't he, instead, the Labour MP?
I don't know, but yes.
Curtis. The Milton Keynes candidate, Conservative candidate, did not win, and he ran on a campaign, pure NIMBYism. Pure, you will not build on Milton Keynes. Milton Keynes, by the way, a confected, now city, did not exist, right? confected. It's all new builds. He ran an NIMBY campaign. He puts up a photograph the other week, a couple of days ago. I finally mowed the grass. He lives in one of them Barratt Homes developments. How can you live in a new build and then protest other people being able to live in new builds?
Yeah. We don't have any infrastructure and there'll be less if you're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a study that is an MRP polling done by the IPPR about what is Labour's mandate to govern. And they found that in every constituency, there is a majority support for more house building. It's just that NIMBYs are vocal and well organised.
Yes, they are. And they do tend to be in high places.
Yes.
Homeowners do tend to be more,
busybodies.
Well, I think homeowners are more sort of up the kind of like social strata than renters, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Because, well, they don't have to worry about paying rent.
No, they're not. They don't live at the beck and whim of somebody you don't know. Yeah.
I think there's the one thing I really, really do agree with the NIMBYs on is that you can't put in a housing development for 300 houses and in an area where there's not enough schools and not enough GPs and not also put in those infrastructure plans. Mm-hmm. Like if you're going to build 300 homes that could also turn into 600 homes or whatever, yeah, you should probably put in a GP surgery and an extra school. Mm-hmm. I do think that should be part and parcel of it.
Yeah, but is that not perfect? It's the enemy of good though.
Well, I also think that would really shut them up because if they came up with, okay, there's this big development in Wisley that everyone's going mad at the moment. I actually really want to go down and do like a piece on it. They're going absolutely ballistic because there's nowhere to live in this. This is like in Surrey. It's just off the M25. There's like nowhere affordable to live for young people there. It's kind of like Cornwall. Everyone's been priced out. So they're like, okay, cool. We're going to build this huge development on this big open bit of land. And the residents have been going mental. They have literally been picketing it, like, standing in the road like this, all sorts of things like that. But at the same time, they're really upset that their children can't live anywhere. Yeah,
there's some cognitive dissonance there.
So I think if you go back to those plans, you said we're building a GP, we're building a school, and we're building 1,000 homes. If they still object to it, tough shit. Sorry, Linda.
Yeah, I kind of think just build them. Fucking build them, regardless. Because people always support the idea in the abstract, but then, like, not here though. Even though it's like wind turbines or something like that, or like or big infrastructure projects. Like, well, actually, this might disrupt me. I support it if this was in a different part of the country. I'd absolutely support it, but because it might obscure my view ever so slightly. People aren't very charitable.
I would love a ban on. Oh, I should talk about this to Quajo when we speak to him this week. I'd love a ban on buy-to-lets on new builds.
Yeah.
I think that should be baseline. Like, people with their property portfolio of like, I once lived in a building in Tottenham. It was a brand new building. The landlord literally owned like 60% of the flats.
Jesus Christ.
Like, that's crazy.
That's stupid numbers at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're talking to Quajo this week. I think I'm going to Leicester this week.
Why are you going to Leicester, Ed? Tell us.
Just for a little explore. Going to go to Leicester South and explore why Jonathan Ashworth lost his seat.
Yeah.
Should we call it there?
Oh, is that it? I thought you were going to give us a bit more information.
No,
they have to wait for the video.
It's a nice tease, of course. I'm not going to
tease them.
Enjoy that.
Cup them.
Enjoy that.
Tickle them.
Thank you. Well, consider yourself tickled. Thank you for listening, everybody, or watching. You're probably watching this based on numbers that we can see of like how people consume this podcast. But regardless, I hope you.
That's good insight, isn't it?
Yeah, let us know if you want to know more back end analytics on the PoliticsJOE channel. We won't give you them, but I'd be curious. You're probably interested, you nerds. Remember to like and subscribe. Give us a review if you're on an audio platform.
See you in the subreddit.
Yeah, come to the PoliticsJOE subreddit and draw us. Sean, did anyone draw you after I asked them to?
I don't think so.
No drawings of Sean. No drawings of Sam. What's the point of the subreddit if they're not going to do what I say? I would like 3 drawings of Sean by the next episode, please. And Sam. 1 of Sam, 3 of Sean, please.
Couple of Ollie as well.
Couple of Ollie? Do you have any requests for them?
No.
Okay. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.